All right, you ready? Let's do this. All right, week 6 of the college football season is in the books. Welcome back to Hook the Line podcast. I'm Harrison here with Ryan, and we're going to be talking through the week 6, some of our predictions that we made, some of the biggest games, some surprises, some comfortable wins. We'll talk through them. We'll start by talking about Georgia, Kentucky, then Wisconsin, Michigan, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Texas, Florida, and finally the night game, Miami and Florida State. Now, normally we do a catch and release segment at the beginning of this episode. We're not going to do that today. That'll be back next week. Although, really, the only thing to talk about this week would be James Franklin. And we'd probably release, I would say,
Yeah.
after this point. So we'll see if they can get back on track. But I had Penn State minus 24 and a half. So it was just never looking good for me in that regard. How are you doing, though, Ryan?
Doing good, man. Good week. We had a great start off to our picks and predictions. Wisconsin, Georgia. And I really liked Vandy going into the week. I thought that was a really good bet. Responsibly gambled on it myself, and then got shot in the foot with that backdoor cover, and it all proceeded to fall down from there. Houston gets their ass killed. FSU gets killed, and my Saturday gets destroyed after a beautiful start. And yeah, I mean, all you can really do is look on to next week now, and we got a bunch of good games coming up this week that we'll talk about next episode. But whole lot of misery that was brought to me this past weekend that we'll get into.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, let's talk about how hot we were at the start, though. We'll start with the game, Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, we both had the same score for this game going in, 24-10. The score was 24-10. So like
That was incredible.
round of applause there, for ourselves.
At least a little bit of credibility. That game was, it was a big noon kickoff. I don't know why, but those games are kind of tough watches, I guess, except for last week. But they almost screwed us there at the end. Underwood and Sharon Moore were looking to get in there at the very end, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, easy, pal, easy, guy." Um, I mean, Wisconsin came out hot. That offense looked really good for once on that first drive, and that was pretty much it. But that kind of set the tone for the game, at least. Kicked Michigan in the mouth a little bit, but then Bryce Underwood and the gang kind of settled in, especially on the defensive side of the ball as well. Um, they're a good team. We'll see them continue to get better as the year goes on. I'm really excited for that Ohio State game because that'll be obviously the ultimate test for the year, like it always is.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I mean, it's like obviously living rent free in all of our heads that Michigan has beaten Ohio State so many years. And so I'm excited for that game too because this Michigan team looks, in my opinion, maybe a little bit even better than some of the Michigan teams that have beaten Ohio State already. So it's like, it just feels like it's lining up to happen again. But then again, you got to put a stop to the bleeding at some point if you're Ohio State. So.
Yeah. I mean, that offensive line looks great. They got a few different weapons on that offense. And then that Ohio State defense is probably the best in the country. So obviously, we'll definitely be talking about it the week of, and that's a game to circle. I'm curious to see how they handle some of their other opponents leading up to that game. As for Wisconsin, they did a decent job. They kind of contained the run to their best ability. I didn't realize until right before the game that they actually are the best run defense in the country. So they kind of lived up to that, I guess. I don't how many yards did they give up on the ground. I don't even
Give up
know.
175 and two tutties. So, I mean, decent for a team that runs the ball primarily all the time. They made him
Yeah,
throw.
Justice Haynes had a good day actually. Now I'm looking at it, but it's hard to contain him. He's really a running back, especially with the ability that Underwood has to run on the ground. You got to respect both. So overall, I mean, a decent game from Wisconsin. It's hard to go to the big house and play a perfect game. So did their best, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Wisconsin on offense is just kind of abysmal, and Michigan has been known for their slow starts a little bit, similar to kind of how Ohio State is in a way in that first quarter. Obviously, they punched them in the mouth, but you kind of knew. I think everybody watching kind of knew. Like as soon as I saw Wisconsin go up, I was like, I want to live bet Michigan, whatever, right now because this isn't going to hold up. That defense is too good for Michigan, and then the offense is too good. It's kind of both sides of the ball are just a little bit overpowering. Not that Wisconsin's defense is bad in any way. Michigan can just kind of bully you. And Bryce Underwood proved that he can throw, which is the biggest takeaway I got from it. I mean, he went 19 and 28 for 270 and a touchdown. compared to what he's been doing, where he throws for about 130, 120. This was the first game he really got to let it loose. So I thought that was impressive. They showed they have a passing game and they show that they can be dangerous in multiple ways. And then, yeah, for Wisconsin, it's just kind of knew this was going to happen. I mean, granted, by the fact that we both got the score right, I didn't really expect anything different from Wisconsin. I knew that they would hold Michigan, but also knew that they wouldn't put up a lot of points. So their only real chance was to kind of have it be a 17 to 13, 17 to 10 game. And once they lost the lead, it was kind of over from that point. Michigan just bled out a lot of the clock. So didn't watch a ton of this game. Kind of split it between the other game that we'll talk about today. I feel like this one's pretty straightforward. So the other game we'll talk about today is Kentucky and Georgia, who Georgia's got a pretty big matchup coming up this week. Kentucky, once again, just faltering under that offense and that coach. So yeah, Mark Stoops not getting the job done there. Something's got to change because Kentucky really should not be doing this bad.
Yeah, they're struggling indeed. Couldn't really run the ball against Georgia. Obviously, that's a tall task on its own. Average 2 yards a carry. That's never great. They also turned the ball over twice. Had a few penalties, right? But going into Athens after that loss that they took against Alabama, it's going to be a rough game for you, right? And I think that's what Kirby's known for. And listen, Gunnar played a good game. He had that bad pick. I think that was late in the second or in the first half and over the middle. But overall, he really played well. He's threw for 200 yards, threw for a tutty, and he ran for two tutties as well. So he's really kind of completing that dual threat ability, which is really important for him and this team. I think if he's able to do both of those, it really keeps the defense honest, especially with Zachariah Branch, who we're really not seeing a ton of. I know I was talking before the game that he should really be more of a focal point of this offense, and they really haven't unleashed him yet, which is interesting to me. I'm curious to see how that storyline plays out in the rest of the year. But I mean, this was kind of the breakout game for the Georgia offense that I was kind of waiting for, and it all starts and finishes with Gunnar Stockton. And what a got to tip your cap right there. He played a pretty good game.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what was your score prediction for this game? Because I think I got it pretty close on the money, and I think you also had the 19 and a half,
I was
right?
close. I invested in that. Thank God. Once again, started out hot, but we'll get to why I lost it all. Georgia, I had Georgia winning 38-10. And what was it? 35-14. So I mean, I was ballpark. I was
No, I
ballpark.
mean, that's closer than you need, covers the spread, gets what you need.
Yeah, I think I thought they were going to get a early three, but that was never the case. They never thought about kicking. They just either turned it over or punted and scored a touchdown. So, but whatever.
Yeah, I had this game 38 to 14, so I was really hoping Georgia would kick a field goal and I'd go 2 for 2 to start the day. And once again, like you said, we'll talk about how everything fell apart after that. But noon, I was feeling, I mean, it got around 1 o'clock and I was feeling like something special was brewing in the hook the line picks.
I was feeling nicey, but
What we had brought together. I agree with you there. Like on the Gunnar Stockton note, I'm shocked this year by how he can run the ball. I mean, I know we saw him run against Texas when he came in, but I thought a lot of that was due to the fact that he was just being thrown in this offense, kind of panicky. I got to get outside the pocket. Pressure's on.
yeah,
Now we're just kind of seeing that there's like designed runs in this offense. There's designed plays where he needs to get outside the pocket, and that's kind of he's developing that identity into that is who he is. Is he is a running quarterback as well as a passing threat. But yeah, he can beat you with his legs, and I think that's going to be a thing that Georgia hasn't had in the past when they've had Carson Beck or they've had some of these other quarterbacks. Just this dual threat kind of ability in the quarterback position is going to hurt a lot of teams, and so. I like what they have going forward. You did know, like you said, about the when you lose to Alabama, and then if you're Kentucky, you have to play Georgia the next week. You're probably shitting your pants, especially if you're going to Georgia, because they're not going to let up on you. They're trying to prove a point. You know, we're still Georgia, you're still Kentucky, we're still up here, you're still down here, and they proved that point pretty.
yep,
I think both these games were kind of similar in that way. It was just two different levels of the conference playing each other, and that's what we saw in both of these noon kickoff games.
yeah, I agree. I mean, they came out in 14-0 off the jump. They were what 8 for 12 on third down. They just dominated the
Mhm.
offensive side of the ball from the jump and really played to perfection. Honestly, I mean, Gunner had that pick, but they really played really well.
Yeah, one thing I will note though is like, although Georgia won comfortably, I feel like this Georgia defense is susceptible, and they've shown that. I feel like they're not. We saw it mainly against Alabama, and obviously they only let up 14 points, but it is Kentucky. So, but they weren't getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They weren't making big plays on the defensive end with interceptions and things like that. I think this Georgia defense is less of what we've seen in the past, but this Georgia offense has really stepped up. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of this new reinvented Georgia team still under Kirby Smart, see if that defense can get it together in a lot of ways, especially going down to the Plains to Auburn this weekend. So we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, overall, just solid, comfortable win for both these teams in the noon window.
Hmm.
We'll move on now to, yep, the one that burned you kind of saved me, although I was already with the whole Florida Texas situation, I was already feeling that I was burned at this point. Vanderbilt at Alabama, obviously spread was 10 and a half, really, really late backdoor cover there. So yeah, we can talk about that one.
Um, yeah, so I feel like I read this game pretty well. I mean, Vandy does have do some nice things on offense. Scored 14 in the first, and then that was it. I mean, they didn't really come out in the second half and really do much. Um, I mean, they have a few turnovers, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
they had two turnovers, fumble and interception. I think one of them was in the first half, but they really just kind of lost hope in the second half. I know that backdoor cover killed me, and don't even need to get into it. But Vandy proved that they can kind of hang with the top of the SEC. I would say Alabama was right up there. They hung around for a while, and just that spread, man. I can't stop thinking about it. Watching it, what's his name, Jam Miller or something, just walk into the end zone. Um, just really burned me. Ty Simpson continues to play at a high level. I know I talked about it before we went into Alabama and Georgia, but he's a really complete quarterback. I think he does a lot of good things, and of course, it helps when you have Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard catching the football too. And I mean, Jam Miller had a good day too. I didn't even realize 2.2 yards a carry for 136. It's pretty impressive. He got his tutty late in the game, which I keep referring to because it kind of ruined my day. But overall, bunch of more games on Alabama's schedule that they need to go through. Play Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma. Right, they're not done. So we'll see how the rest of the year carries out. Vandy also probably has some big games on their schedule. Just looking at it, they got to go to Texas. They're hosting LSU, hosting Missouri, going to Tennessee. Potentially, it could Auburn could make a run. I don't know. Who knows? But SEC is we're just at the beginning. We're at the tip of the iceberg for this SEC conference and their schedule.
Oh yeah, no, it's looking like it's going to shape up to be a lot of fun because you're getting a ton of early, just one-loss teams that are either powerhouses or early favorites. I mean, Tennessee's got a loss, Georgia's now got a loss, Bama's now got a loss. The only undefeated teams left, I think, are Texas A&M and Oklahoma at this point, and then it's Red River this week. So who knows
Yeah.
if Oklahoma sticks it around? But yeah, I think from the Vandy side of the ball, I don't really believe that a lot of people, I think people wanted Vandy to win this game. I don't think a lot of people in their heart of hearts thought that Vandy was going to go into Tuscaloosa and win, especially after what they did last year. So I'm not going to knock Vandy too much for this game, especially like you said, backdoor cover. I mean, they kept it pretty close. One thing I want to point out, you said Ty Simpson, this drive at the end of the half with a minute 16. So Vandy's up 14-7. I mean, this is a potential spot where Vandy can go in with the lead at the half and then they get the ball out of the half as well. So if they can get a stop, they can kind of get a couple scores on there. And Ty Simpson in a minute 16 goes and leads a 78 play or 78 yard, 6 play drive, scores a touchdown, ties it up and just like they basically just walk into the locker room from there. And I think that's the kind of thing that this Alabama team is looking for when it gets into those late game situations, whether it's the end of a half or the end of the game. The fact that Ty Simpson has the composure as a freshman to make those plays and to deliver a drive like that. especially when they're kind of on the ropes. I mean, Vandy had him on the ropes, let's be real, in the first half.
Yeah,
They picked him off literally, I think, the first play of the game. So it's like they came out swinging. Bama got their best punch, and then they responded really well with that Ty Simpson drive. And ever since that drive, it just looked like they were going to run away with it. Like you said, Vandy didn't score a single point in the second half. So that just speaks to how good this guy really is. And this team kind of I think the sky's the limit for them. They do look like they can contend for a national championship, or they can at least contend with anyone in the country. Um, Obviously, with the new playoff format, it's going to be hard to string results together time and time again. So you never really know with 12 teams. But yeah, overall, second half, it looked like the Alabama that we all thought was going to be at the beginning of the season. And they're starting to look like that team, other than that early Florida State loss, where it just seemed like they were kind of unprepared, undisciplined. Now they're getting back to those ways. So yeah, going to be a really, really fun SEC season. Vanderbilt, still excited, still love Pavia, still love what he's doing. Really
yep,
wish they could have made a run in that game, but I think they kind of in the second half chalked it up. They were like, it's gonna be a loss, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. We're on the road. Let's go back home. And like you said, some big, big games coming up on that schedule. Especially the stretch of LSU, Missouri, Texas, especially like that's
yeah.
just a
That's a gauntlet for sure.
yeah. Another good game though. I enjoyed watching that one. It's always fun when Diego Pavia is on the field, especially when he's the underdog. So a good game, a lot of fun. We'll see where they go from there. Other 3:30 game. I think, yeah, 3:30 game,
Yeah,
Texas and Florida, which was kind of the biggest unknown coming into the game, where there were so many problems offensively for both teams. There were a lot of good things happening defensively. But to be honest, I felt like I didn't really know what was going to happen in this game at all. I was kind of throwing a guess out there 50-50, even with my pick. I mean, I had to go into overtime. That shows you how much of a 50-50 I thought it was. And, to Florida's credit, they got the job done. So, yeah, what are your takes on that?
yeah. So I mean, if you told me before the game that DJ Lagway was going to have the game that he had, I would have told you you're crazy, right? If I read you the stat line, he was 20 for 28, 298, two tuds, and one interception. That's a 94.9 QBR against Texas. Like, what? How did this guy do a complete 180? Got to give credit where it's due. I mean, that's an incredible stat line, especially against this caliber of defense. They really played a clean game. They ran the ball a lot with their running back, almost 30 carries, right? So they were just kind of in total control. I think they were like 50% on, yeah, 50% on third down. So I'm honestly like a really nice game from a Florida offense that's been struggling mightily. And yeah, I mean, another storyline where people are probably going to want to talk about is Arch Manning.
Mhm.
I mean, he's gone up against some pretty like tough defenses, especially like obviously you start the year with Ohio State. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it. That is the hardest thing you could do starting a season, right? Starting a campaign as a starting quarterback, never really getting a taste. And then you struggle a little bit, and then you go and play Sam Houston at home and you're flexing over guys for some reason, like you're playing Sam Houston, bro. But anyways, and then you go on the road to the swamp after that, and you might struggle a little bit. He's played decent, but I mean they didn't win the game, so obviously he didn't play decent enough. But I think all the credit should go to DJ Lagway, who really had a turnaround game, and they played a complete game. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If you told me Texas scored 21 points in this game, I would have said it was 21-17 and they walked out of there with a win.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know how DJ Lagway and Billy Napier find a way to do this every season, because it's like as soon as the conversation gets to okay, Billy Napier's gotta go, DJ Lagway's not the guy, and they're 1-3. They did this last year too. They just turn around and they just start beating teams that you don't think they're gonna beat. They start beating ranked teams. They start beating teams that are way better. They start going on the road. So I don't know what to do with this Florida team, but seems like they're back on track.
It was the most confusing win ever. And I mean, we talked about it going in. Like I was didn't know what was going to happen, and the fact that that's what happened just goes to prove me right. Like that is insane for him to have that turnaround, and I got to give him credit because that's a really good defense that he played, and yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I want to point out one player. I mean, I want to point out Dallas Wilson on Florida. I mean, the guy's a dog at receiver. I know he had that one play where he kind of caught it, turned the corner, ran over a guy, and took it to the house. Um, but DJ Lagway's got weapons. I mean, it's really on him now to see how this season's going to go. They put themselves in a hole, but he's got weapons on that offensive side of the ball, and this team is dangerous defensively as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Florida continued to lose games that they should win and win games they should lose. It feels like they're just one of those teams where they're not contenders, but you don't want to play them. Like, I don't want to play Florida in any context, but I'm not scared of Florida beating me out to get to the SEC championship, if that
Mm,
makes.
yeah.
And then Texas. Yeah, you got Red River this week, so I know you lost to Florida, but it's got to be a quick turnaround, Arch. And I mean, for that fan base, if you can go beat an Oklahoma team, they unranked you this week, the AP. If you can beat an Oklahoma team that is the top five, maybe the top seven, I think they're five though. If you beat them, Arch, everybody's going to shut up. All you need is one game like that. Everyone's going to shut up. Everyone's going to be right back on the train. They're going to say, "Oh, it was just early in the season. He's a young quarterback and stuff," because everybody makes the big assumption. So I think this Red River rivalry is going to be one of the most entertaining that we'll see in a while. And I hope Arch can get it done, but he's placing, like you said, another good defense in Oklahoma. So he gets no let up in terms of,
He gets no break, man.
you know,
Poor guy.
it's going to be funny. And then he gets Kentucky and Mississippi State, so maybe he'll have a.
Maybe he does. All
This
right.
is a
Never mind.
big game this weekend. So
Yeah, no doubt.
yeah. And then we'll move on to the last game, night game, Miami and Florida State, which I thought was going to be kind of a high flying affair. Ended up not being as much of one, but Carson Beck, Miami, maybe in that national championship title contender conversation. You never know what the ACC, and you can make your assumptions on Florida State. But Miami looked good. And don't let the scoreline fool you. This game was not nearly as
No,
close
it was
as
not.
it looks on the scoreboard. As somebody who has watched Auburn a long time, Gus Malzahn sitting on the sideline and just calling run play after run play when it's clearly not working is something that I've seen fail over and over again. That happened again this game. Miami took it to him and just won comfortably once again.
Yeah, Carson Beck just completely shut me up. I really do hate this guy. I don't know why, but I mean, when you play like that, it's really hard to lose. I mean, he threw for 250 and four tutties without turning the ball over. Like, how much better do you want the guy to play? I mean, he totally just told me to shut up. I can't believe how well he played. They didn't even really run the ball that much. He's really just a natural passer, and the Malachi Tony guy had a hell of a game as well. Like they got the deep threats, right? It looks like they just completely dominated. I didn't even want to really keep watching that game. I was just ready to turn it off after that.
Hmm.
I really wanted to see more out of Deuce Robinson. I was talking about it before the game. He had 6 for 87. So he didn't do terrible. I just wanted him to see maybe get more. Tommy Castellanos didn't really play that well. 25 of 45 through two picks. So, I mean, Miami kind of forced you to play a pretty clean game and take care of the football, and they really didn't do that. Three turnovers, and didn't really move the ball on through the air like they normally, hopefully, would have done.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I watched this game for three quarters, and what I saw was the two guys on the edge for Miami, Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain, are absolute animals. I mean, Thomas Castellano, yes, he had a little bit over 50% completion percentage, which isn't great, and he had two picks, but a lot of that was due to the pressure that Miami was getting in on him. And those two edge guys are just, they're going to be Sunday players. I mean, they're both great. I knew about Ruben Bain. I did not know about Akeem Mesidor. But they just wreaked havoc out there on Thomas Castellanos. And yeah, I know Deuce Robinson didn't have a great game, but he was probably the lone bright spot in a lot of this team, given that the run game didn't work and they kept trying it. I mean, they ran the ball 38 times with an average of like 3 yards, which is fine. But when you're losing and you score 19 points in the fourth quarter, you can't afford to keep running the ball that late. I mean, you lose the game yourself because you run out of time.
Mm,
And so they ran the ball more than Miami, and they were losing 99 to 100% of this game.
yeah,
So It's like that's just not going to be a recipe for success. They got to figure that out. They got to fix that. They've got the signature win against Alabama, but if they didn't have that win, I think a lot of us would be looking at this Florida State team and saying that they were right back kind of where we thought they were last year. I don't think they're there, but I don't think they're anywhere near this season before the 2023 season with Jordan Travis and those guys. So they're probably somewhere in the middle. They remind me a little bit of Florida. A lot of these Florida teams seem to be similar, other than Miami, that they can just wreak havoc on anybody, but they're probably susceptible to lose any game as well.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and like you said, Malachi Tony. I mean, Malachi Tony is a star. Like in the make, he reminds me like a little Tyreek Hill. Like when he's running out there, he has that speed, he's got the quickness, he's got the juke moves, he's got everything you need to go ahead and break one for 60 yards if he needs
Yeah.
40 yards. And so yeah, I mean, I knew.
Definitely nice to have for sure. So,
Totally. Totally. So yeah, Carson Beck, if he keeps it rolling like this, we'll see. I don't know who's going to beat Miami. Like if you look at their schedule, like I'll read you out their schedule, you tell me who's going to beat them. You got Louisville, Stanford, at SMU, Syracuse, NC State, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt.
the ACC, man. They shouldn't lose, is what I'm saying. But whatever performance UCLA put together last week could maybe happen to somebody playing Miami, right? That's how unforeseeable this sport is. So, I mean, I guess I got to start cheering for Carson Beck because they keep playing really well. But anything's possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. But they're right now they're staring down the barrel of walking in there into the season. And I don't think it's exactly fair because I mean, obviously they got the win over Notre Dame. I don't know if I'd take that now. Feel like Notre Dame's bounced back. If they played again, I feel like I'd still take Notre Dame. I took them the first time, but yeah, I mean, I think Miami's got a really good team, but yeah, like you said, I think the parity this year in college football is way, way more than we've seen any other year. I mean, the big dogs are all falling to other people or they're beating up on themselves. Um, but the ACC, you just never know. And we're getting into that conversation again where it's going to be you got a 9-3 SEC team and you got a 10-1 ACC team, and you're going to have to decide who to put in. And that's where like this whole schedule thing is going to come into conflict. And when I look at the rest of this Miami schedule, obviously Florida State could very well end up unranked this year. South Florida could very well end up unranked this year. And Notre Dame, they'll probably bounce back, but that gives you one ranked win, right? Like,
Yeah,
and so it's very hard for me to still take them legitimately, but they've passed every test so far, and it seems like they're going to continue at this pace.
I agree.
Yeah. If I had to give out, like some sort of star of the week, I'd probably give it to Nico Iamaleava. I mean, like that, I feel like we can't do this segment without talking about what the hell happened over there in UCLA. 0-4, and now it was something like somebody's son or like
Oh my God, dude. I
relative.
actually watched a lot of this game, and it was honestly making me mad for Penn State fans, which is weird of me to do. But they had this guy's dad who worked for CBS and was back in the studio, like doing the pregame and halftime stuff. They just had him in the corner, just doing commentary over the game while the game is happening. I'm like, what is happening right now? So Rick Neuheisel is a quarterback who played for UCLA. His son was the play caller on Saturday and is the
Hmm.
interim offensive coordinator. By the way, the guy didn't even know what he was doing. He had his headset mic just on his forehead. I don't know if anyone saw that. I'm sure that you did, but crazy performance. Called a good game. Their offense looked unstoppable against a Penn State defense that hired the best defensive coordinator in all of football and gave him a lot of money. So I mean, I don't know. I was at a loss for words watching that game.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it baffles you. It's like it literally baffles you to watch Penn State, who just went to overtime with Oregon, who we talked about being a really, really good team, an 0-4 UCLA with Nico at quarterback, and you let him dice you up. And like, you can't even put all the blame on Drew Aller. Like, he tried, he did what he could. How, as a Penn State defense, do you allow 42 points against an offense that has looked stagnant and slow and terrible? And I think everybody wrote him off. They lost to Utah 43 to 10.
I don't,
43 to 10.
it was so bad. First of all, they score on the opening drive, right? They looked efficient on the first drive. And then they come out and run an onside kick that nobody was ready for, and they get the ball right back. Defense is already tired in the first quarter, and then they move the ball at will. It didn't come down. It didn't. It was a beat down, but it came down to the end, right? So Penn State has the ball, trying to score late in the game, and they run a terrible play on fourth down where they send the guy across the formation. Hopefully, have Drew Allard run a jet sweep, but or inside zone to quarterback, and they just blow it up. And I'm sitting there like they just lost to UCLA. How on earth did they just lose to UCLA? I don't know. It was an unreal game. Hell of an effort by the Bruins, I guess, is all I can really say at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's why you love the sport though, for things like that. I mean, like as much as it's like embarrassing for Penn State and stuff, that's what you look for. That's why you watch. It's like why you watch every game. Like you have a team like Penn State and they can lose to a team like UCLA with the situation they're in, with the play caller they have. And then you've got this play caller getting carried off the field at the end of the game. Like I don't know what's cooler than that. If you're a UCLA fan, your season's won, in my opinion. You don't have to do anything else the rest of the year. We ruined Penn State. We ruined James Franklin. I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, really funny
Oh
stuff
my.
there. But yeah, now, so the slate obviously wasn't as crazy as the week before, but I think it surprised a lot of people. I think it ended up being
Absolutely.
one of the better ones, and obviously that UCLA Penn State game capped it off just with the magic of college football. So, other than that, my deep sea dog did not hit Purdue. I hyped them up a lot, and then they just continued to trail by like 14 points the entire game. So I don't know why I was excited, but you know,
Yeah, my deep sea dog was just abysmal. I was looking forward to it, and then I was watching a little bit of Miami, Florida State, peaked the score, and then I was like, oh, that was a misread, total misread, and I got no words, people. Especially after coming off a big win week prior, probably building a little bit of credibility. I hope I didn't let anybody down, but that's just unbelievable performance from the Cougars. Texas Tech shut me up, much like Carson Beck. So on to the next week, I guess is all I can really say.
yep. All I hope is that everybody that listened and tailed us took the noon through 3 o'clock slate and did not take anything after that. So.
Yeah, that's what I wish I did.
Oh, then you're a millionaire. If you did that after that, sorry, we're gonna try to help you out this week. Speaking of this week, great weekend of college football. Again, I'm gonna run through the games we're gonna talk about, and then we'll do all this on Friday for the predictions and things like that. So, games we're talking about, we've got number 8 Alabama traveling to Missouri. You've got number 7 Indiana traveling to Oregon. Number 6 Oklahoma and Texas Red River rivalry, always good. Can never count that game out. You've got Michigan, USC, another rivalry game. Michigan traveling to USC in that one. And then you've got nighttime in Jordan Hare where weird things happen. You've got the Deep South's oldest rivalry, number 10 Georgia, walking into Auburn. So we're going to be talking about all that on Friday. Should be a fun weekend, though. Really
Oh yeah,
excited for that. Really
yeah.
excited to talk about that. You got any predictions locked in already?
Oh, I wish I did, man. I really am just looking forward to this week after that last week because oh, I wish I could just like make a drawing of like a roller coaster that I was on for that last week. But I'm hoping for a good week this week. We got a bunch of good matchups in the Big Ten and in the SEC. So I'm excited to make some predictions, man. I need to bounce back, especially after. Never mind. Just end it. Just end it.
Yeah. Well, we'll bring that all to you guys on Friday. Thank you guys for listening once again. We appreciate all you guys. Do follow us on Twitter. We'll have our picks up there if you want that. And we'll be back again on Friday.
See y'all.